Ladies and gentlemen, good people and not so good people, and you know who you are, and you know where you fall. It is your boy, Cool McCain, in the building, season finale, with my guy, Scrub Zero. Scrub, what's going on, man?
What's going on? Going to be a nice winter. Wouldn't not have to worry about these NFC seasons no more. Can just enjoy football now, I suppose.
Yeah. It's a catch-22 for your boy, but, it is what it is.
I'll be laughing at the teams regardless, so.
True that. So, it's good that Scrub was able to, hop on with me because some interesting news we'll be talking about regarding the New York Football Giants and that no longer head coach vacancy that they have. Also, over in the land of the Commanders, the OC, one Mr. Cliff Kingsbury, decided to seek greener pastures. And, of course, in Philly land, we got the end of the season that, our offense deserved. And finally, let me do this better. The Rock said, finally, Kevin Petula got what he deserved. And then, of course, over in Dallas, they are sans a defense coordinator another season. I gotta say, if I'm a guy that is a defensive coordinator or wants to be a defensive coordinator, if Dallas calls me, I'm gonna go to the interview because I need reps interviewing, but I'm running from that job because it feel like they get a new coordinator every year. So if you get a new coordinator every year, I'm gonna tell y'all a little secret between me, you all, and Scrub. It's not the coordinator, it's the players, probably the coach, and your pseudo GM is a problem too. So just want to throw that out there. Won a division.
I'll tell you a not so big secret. It's the organization. Oh dang! I was gonna say that part. I mean, we here now, so why not, right?
It is what it is. So a lot of good stuff to wrap up for the season. Starting to look at the off season. The Beast is over a little sooner than last year, but that's okay, guys. You know why? Because we still are and will be the best division in football. You know why? There's only one division. Every team has at least not one, but 2 Super Bowl championships. And it is who we call the Beast. So good people. We're going to dig into things. Scrub, where would you like to begin, my good man?
Oh, let's see. Let's start with the playoff games. Might as well.
Well, there's one playoff game I really don't want to talk about, but we will. Might as well go ahead and rip the wound off and give me a little more time to heal. So the Philadelphia Eagles hosted the San Francisco 49ers, and the offense said we're still not going to show up. And not only did the offense say we're still not going to show up, our wonderful, fantastic, all-world quote-unquote top receiver dropped 3 passes. Still a lot of just questionable play calling, abandoning the run game in the second half of a game where you were up or in the game for most of the time. And just not utilizing properly the players. So that being said, San Francisco came out. Quinyon Mitchell got manhandled of not the entirety of the game, but at least a couple of plays on the first drive, and it's just crazy. The defense wasn't able to really do what they do consistently. And number 6 seed San Francisco 49ers had a 23-19 win. So I just have to, I'm not even going to rant because it is what it is, but I just want to point out that somebody named Pooh McCain, me, as saying on the Eagles Elite podcast, as well as here, you don't ever not play guys who have an opportunity to solidify your position in the playoffs. Why? Because San Francisco ended up being a bad matchup for us because they're highly motivated. And we had a chance to be the number 2 seed and play Green Bay, who did lose. It may not have lost to us, but we had a chance to up our seeding. And what did our coach do? Tell you what he did. We're going to rest guys who are going to have any injuries heading into the playoffs. Well, guess what, Nick? This isn't 2025. We didn't have, honestly, the best offense and defense of the league combination, too, like we did last year. And you trying to recapture last year's magic by sitting guys did not work. Because guess what? That works if everything was already clicking, and it was not. So, long story short, we're going home. San Francisco is going to play Seattle. We're not going to be here to pick that game. So what we're going to do is just go through the games that have happened, and then we'll go through who we think is going to be in the Super Bowl and who's going to win it. All right. So the other matchup, because we're not going to be part of that, would be between the 5 and the 2 seed. The 5 seed Rams went into Bank of America Stadium. Cam came back. A lot of hoopla. A lot of good things happened because of that. But the Panthers looked really strong, but couldn't quite get the job done. They lost 31-34 to the Rams. So the Rams move on. And then the aforementioned Green Bay Packers lost to their division foe, the Chicago Bears, to set up the Bears and the Rams, Seahawks, and the 49ers. So, Scrub, I'll simply ask this. Who do you have winning those 2 games? San Francisco, Seattle, Rams, Bears.
Francisco and Seattle. I'm getting the sense that it's going to be a San Francisco win. I'm picking Seattle. I think Seattle's the better team, but something's giving me the sense of San Fran going to go in there and take a game that they probably shouldn't be taking.
It might just be indigestion, but you might. I mean, it is Sam Darnold, so.
And he on the injury report too, so.
Yeah.
And then the other matchup, the Bears and the Rams, that one's a little more difficult. Here's what I'll say. I got Chicago, but Chicago can't fall behind 18 points like they did against Green Bay. Because the Rams are a better, while the Rams do have their issues, they're a better team than Green Bay. And that ain't going to fly. You can't keep living like that. It's going to catch up to you, and you're going to end up going home when you're probably going to be like, dang, we could have advanced further if we just went our own worst enemy.
All right, and then who do you have winning that NFC Championship game between the Bears and the 49ers?
I think the Bears are somehow going to get to the Super Bowl. I just think they got, they keep the game close. They got the best team to come back and close out a game. They just can't fall behind too far back. But I don't trust, as good as the defenses are remaining that they have to play against, I think they could all be had in a game-winning situation.
Okay. Scrub is going to be our playoff picker because, he's going to be. All right. Over in the AFC. The Buffalo Bills, the 6th seed, went into Jacksonville, which, probably was better for Buffalo, to be honest. and pull out a 27-24 win over the Jaguars. So they will advance, and they will be playing the number 1 seeded Denver Broncos, of course, in Colorado. And then on the bottom half of that bracket, which went a little bit more to form, the New England Patriots, I can't say mollywopped, but I can say manhandled the Chargers 16-3. The Patriots did not look that great on the offensive side of the ball, but they were able to do enough defensively and score enough points to win 16-3. The Chargers, very disappointing performance all the way around for them. We lost to this team, so very disappointing. That's why Pitts is still up and probably will be up for a while. Maybe throughout next season, who knows? Then we had Houston with a 30-6 mollywhopping of the Steelers. And what's funny about it is the game was really a lot closer than that, except for some defensive plays that Houston made in the fourth quarter. But Houston did enough to advance. So we've got number 5 Houston traveling to number 2 New England as well. So I'll ask the same question I asked for the NFC scrub. Who's winning those 2 matchups?
Real quick on the Steelers-Texans game, it was a close, the Texans didn't really pull away until that fourth quarter, but honestly, watch that game, it really wasn't close. Texans really should have ran away with it. It's just CJ kept turning the dang on ball over. And that's the one thing. And that's the only thing I'm concerned about with the Texans. He takes care of the ball. They're my team to get through to the Super Bowl. I don't care who they match up against personally. I think they're going to beat New England and go up in there and handle them. They can pull it out, but they're going to need to be better on offense themselves. As for the other matchup, everything points to the Buffalo should win. I just don't want them to because I'm tired of all the Josh Allen glazing and whatnot. Not to mention, ain't no worried about no dang on Bills for real. Outside of them fans up there. So I think it's going to be Denver versus Houston in the championship game. I think Denver's going to end up losing. We'll have Chicago and Houston in the Super Bowl.
All right, and now that you have made your selections on who will get to the Super Bowl, sir, only one question left in regards to the playoffs. Who's winning the Super Bowl?
Just real quick, can we order an airstrike on Levi Stadium at that point and cancel the Super Bowl? I'm roll with Houston the whole way through because they're the only team I wouldn't mind winning. I'd prefer their owner not win, but I don't want to hear the Bears fans. I don't want to see no Sam Darnold win no Super Bowl. And I guess the Rams wouldn't be too bad, but the other 3 teams are the opps, especially New England. I ain't trying to see no Boston win no more Super Bowls, man. Not awesome. Also, actually, no, I'll get to that as we're talking about some of the news and whatnot for the teams. For our teams, I was going to mention the Eagles, but I'll touch on that a little bit later.
Fair enough. So we'll move on. And we'll start talking about teams who have begun to make changes for the offseason. And we're going to go straight to Scrub's Giants. So, Scrub, there were reports, that guys were looking at Harbaugh once he got, I guess we could say, removed from the job. I don't really believe it's a true firing. I believe it's one of those they sat down, They had different ideas, and he was just like, you know what, man, I'm gonna holler at y'all because I ain't rocking with what y'all talking about. So I think it was more of a mutual.
No, trust me, he got fired.
Party.
That was Steve Bisciotti making that decision. He got fired.
So see, here's the thing. People can say that, but I don't believe it because, again, it doesn't make a lot of sense for a guy who's been around that long to not say, do you want to come back? This is what we want if you want to come back. If not, you can leave, right? I think it was more of a mutual decision. Harbaugh doesn't care what people think because he's going to get another job like he's already done with y'all. But I think he was worn out, and I think it was time for him to go, just like Mike Tomlin. I think those were two guys. It was just time for them to go because I think they had worn the welcome thin with the organization. The organizations had worn their welcome thin with them. But it doesn't really matter. He's no longer with the team. And now he's been announced to be working on an agreement to be the next head coach of your New York Football Giants. Your thoughts, sir?
I don't like the hire. This is I'm very serious. This when I heard news of who the Giants were going to go for, I'm like, the Giants would go for either Stefanski or dang on Harbaugh. We just blew a bunch of fourth quarter leads. Since 2015, Harbaugh's had the most blown fourth quarter leads in the league. His dang on Ravens team that he coached, most blown fourth quarter leads. That, like, bro. And then, let's be honest. I'm getting tired of these coaches at living off of one championship from how long ago? That was 2012. He living off of that one championship. Mind you, that team actually was a damn good team. You had and I know a lot of people don't have too high on Flacco, but Flacco played well in the playoffs. You had Anquan Bolden, Torrey Smith, Jacoby Jones, Ray Rice, the two tight ends, Dixon and Pitta. The offensive line was actually good. You had two Hall of Fame, three, because I think Six will get it at some point. So you had three guys or those guys on defense at each level. Like, come on, man. What? And this man's been able to live off of that. And everyone and all these Giants fans, all the Giants media is just waxing poetic. And I'm not saying that he's not going to be better than what we've had. But let's not act like he's going to solve all the damn issues. Because there's a reason he ain't still in Baltimore. If he was really as good as everyone keeps saying he is, why didn't they win any more championships? Why is he out of there and looking for a new job? So this was a predictable move. And I would have preferred them go a different route because I think this is a safe move. But this is what the organization is. They're a safe organization. They're not going to do anything that's outside of their comfort zone. Even when they went out the organization this past time to get the GM and the head coach, even that would felt very planned out. Wasn't like they. And I'm not saying you want to just do things haphazardly, but it felt like it was predictable as well. So I'm not happy with this. They'll be better, but we're not winning no championships. And if we're not winning no championships, why should I get excited about it? I don't do mediocrity. I'm tired of that nonsense. I want to be back in the days when we had Coach Coughlin and we was actually doing something before they stopped picking actual football players and whatnot. But
so who would you have liked to have had as your head coach if you could have made the decision?
My personal decision, I would have picked Brian Flores. But we know there's a lawsuit and all that nonsense. That wasn't going to happen. I would have went for Kubiak. Clint Kubiak, I would have taken a chance on him. I would have even went with Vance Joseph. because I don't think he got a real shake in Denver either. But that was something I was also worried about with the Giants. Like, would they are they going to pick a coach? They're going to get. Would they pick the new guy? Would they give him a fair shake? Would they actually let him run things the way he wants to, or are they going to stick with the same formula they've had this whole time? I guess they'll do some bending with John Harbaugh, but I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, so I'm just going to say this about the hire. It's a splash hire. It's the most proven hire. So I get, you're talking about guys who really haven't had an opportunity to prove themselves or weren't really given a fair shake, right? But the thing with getting Harbaugh is you get somebody who brings a pedigree. Yes, only one championship, but he does have a championship. He did have the second longest tenure of any head coach behind Mike Tomlin. And I think he's not going to have the growing pains that some of those guys that you named would have because he already knows what he needs to do. My only concern when you bring in a new coach, whether it's a seasoned veteran, whether it's a young guy, staff. And I think being around as long as he has, putting as many people from under him as he has, many connections as he has, I think he's going to be able to put together a good quality staff that's a mix of young up-and-coming guys as well as some veteran guys who kind of know what they're doing. So I feel like you're going to get a good staff and a good opportunity to compete within the NFC East as long as you have him as your coach. I think his offensive coordinator hire is going to be pivotal. Defensive as well, because he was a special teams coach, right? So doesn't really have a background in offense or defense. So I think those coordinator hires, especially the offensive one, is going to be very important because as we saw in Baltimore, when you don't hire the right guys or coordinator, it can negatively affect. Hey, as we saw in Philadelphia this past season, get the wrong guy, your offense coordinator, things can go downhill fast, even if you have a good defense. So I'm looking forward to seeing what staff he puts together. I hear what you're saying as far as concerns about Harbaugh, and yeah, those definitely are there. But I think your organization went after a guy they felt could be the best known commodity for what was available.
Man, there's the reports that he gonna bring in Todd Monken as the offense coordinator.
Well, that's the thing. Like, people complain about who's brought in as a coordinator, right? But it's going to be the execution. So if he brings in guys that he can work with well, that he knows what they're going to do, and they're going to work with the personnel, that can't be a bad thing. Because we all want sexy picks. Like, I think if everybody here could say who they want as their OC that's looking for OC, we would say Mike McDaniel. I don't even think he's going to be available because I think he's going to be a head coach.
I'm going Mike McDaniel. Like, he'd be better as an OC than a head coach, but he's not my first option either. I'm tired of recycling. Here's what it is, cool. I'm tired of recycling these guys. We know who they is. Like, we've seen him. It's like, bro, I know what he's about. I've seen him do this for X amount of time. Why are you pretending like something difficult end up happening?
Different personnel, sir. He's not going to have the personnel he had in Baltimore. He's going to have
He's been there for 18 years. We've seen the same nonsense from this man. Don't give me the different personnel. You know what? You got it.
I will say that I think you're getting very upset and worked up before you even know who the staff is going to be. Before you ever see him go out and play a preseason game, a draft, free agency, anything. Just based on what happened at a previous stop. I mean, he's got to have learned something from that stop. And to say I'm not going to take a year off and I'm going to jump back into coaching, he probably has some things he's going to do differently the second time around. Right? It's like getting married and then getting divorced and then dating again. I'm not going to do the same things I did the first time around because I don't want to have the same outcome. Just saying.
You got more faith in it than me because
I don't have faith. I'm just saying. I mean, truthfully speaking, I hope he bombs. I hope he's terrible for the Giants. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have to worry about the Giants. But, I mean, I think it's a smart hire. I don't think it was maybe the best hire, but I think it was the safest hire. And that's what I think is important, is that the organization is saying, we're trying to make what we think is going to be the safest hire to have this team turn around as quickly as possible and help get us a staff together that can develop these young core pieces that the Giants have.
We've been running safe since John Mara doesn't take over. We've been running safe way too long. I'm tired of safe. Like I said, I'm not saying reckless, but take an actual chance on something. But they won't, because this is who the Giants are.
So, we travel over to the Dallas Cowboys. So, we haven't been able to get our Cowboy rep on last couple of weeks. So, any thoughts on the end of the Cowboys season, their season as a whole, or their search for a defensive coordinator for, if I remember correctly, this is going to be the third year in a row?
They need to, as far as defense coordinator, they got to figure this out. This is ridiculous. You can't keep going year after year flipping defense. And it's not because they're getting hired for head coaching jobs or even making lateral moves. Like, y'all just firing these cats. And at some point, it's the personnel. It's not, and it's a little less the personnel in and of itself. Because, yeah, you players still got to execute, but it's the guy who's bringing in the personnel. Because when you're firing 3 defensive coordinators, now I'm looking at the guy who brought in these players in the first place, because you can't get this any better than what it's been. But Dallas has had this issue for years now. This ain't even just the past 3 years. It's been a long time since we've really been able to say Dallas has had a top defense. Very long time. As it pertains to their season, listen, I thought Dak had a good year. I thought he was balling out, but they got to make some improvements to the offensive line. They got to figure out they're keeping George Pickens or not. Personally, I think they should trade CeeDee Lamb, because I think he's another guy who cries for the ball, and then in big moments he don't get it, and then you're like, damn, if only, like, for the guy who has as much ability as you do, you don't be coming through when we need you. I think the games he missed, the offense was flowing better. They got the ball to Ferguson more, which was helpful, and Pickens was doing his thing. I think Schottenheimer's okay. Could you do better? Probably, but you could do worse. But at the end of the day, it's the same problem that's always been with the Cowboys. Gerald Wayne Jones Jr. And as long as he's running the operation, the furthest they're going to get is the divisional round. And then who cares about them? So they can do with it. Let them keep floundering for all I care, but if they're really about winning, they got to change that's the team that got to change their formula too, because they've done the same thing for too long, and it's been the same thing, and they keep expecting a different outcome. Insanity, if you will.
I think for Dallas, you got to stop scapegoating the VCs. This is not a good defense, and that's the problem. Defense wins championships. The reason they haven't been good, and when they have made the playoffs, is that they haven't done anything. It's because the defense hasn't done its job. I also think it is Gerald Jones. It's a big part of it. He did make some moves this year, but he made them kind of late, so it didn't really give them time to fix the issues. It's going to be interesting to see who anybody wants to take that job. Somebody will, of course, but if they make it more than a year, and what improvements they make on the defensive side of the ball. Really nothing else for me to say about them. Washington Commanders let several coaches go, including Cliff Kingsbury. Looks like he's moving on to greener pastures. There's been talk of him being an OC for another team, a lateral move somewhere else, or there's been some talk of him getting some head coaching interest. Your thoughts on Cliff Kingsbury and what you think's next for him, Scrub?
You know how I feel about Cliff Kingsbury. Anyone who's watching the show knows how I feel about Kingsbury. Anyone who's been on my channel, definitely. I got no use for this man. I think this man doesn't need to be coaching any kind of football whatsoever. Well, maybe not that bad, but I wouldn't have him as my OC or head coach because it's a very short shelf life, and the offense ends up looking like, well, what the hell? The biggest thing that had me scratching my head was the game against Denver. Yeah, Mariota was played the best he could, but you don't have him pass 40 plus times and expect to win. He don't run the ball enough. Passing concepts are pretty head scratching at times. He'll probably get a not head coaching. He'll probably get an OC job with one of these teams because they seem to think he's good for something. I wouldn't do it, but I'm not the one who makes the decisions.
Okay. I'm gonna let that ride. I'm not even gonna add anything to that. It'll be interesting to see where Cliff Kingsbury lands and what title he ultimately gets. So let's move on to the Philadelphia Eagles. Any thoughts on the Eagles season? Their playoff. I'm just gonna say loss because truthfully, I'm gonna pick my team, but hey, they told us weeks ago that we're inept on offense and we don't believe it. And the only way you're gonna prove it to us is we have to lose in the playoffs. And what everybody else saw, you can't overlook. And then the fact that they did finally let Kevin Patullo go. And who do you think would be a good fit in the Philadelphia Eagles offense?
All right, so let's see. The season as a whole, I think it was a lost season. He made the playoffs, but considering how bad the offense was and the defense had their struggles too, had to make a trade to get Phillips. I thought that was a good trade, but we've seen the issues with this team. Yeah, they won 11, 12 games, but it always felt like there was something more to be had that they left on the table. For the playoff game, well, obviously more of the same. Listen, I'm gonna be honest. Y'all need to find a way to trade AJ Brown. I know he's a talented receiver. He provides he's a guy that defense had to prepare for, but like I put in the comment section on the Eagles Elite, I see him as another TO. And I think y'all max out. I think it's time to move on. And y'all just gonna have to bring some other receivers in. Y'all gonna have to bring at least one more guy in anyway. Because I didn't see much of Dotson this year. I don't know if that's more the scheme or just because I was never a big Dotson guy anyway. Always, I told you already. Like I thought y'all needed at least one more guy. Anyway, Jalen Hurts will be fine if you could get him an offense coordinator. I would say because Patula he shouldn't even gotten the job in the first place. But I would either go for, I guess, Daniels because he is good at scheming some stuff up. Brian Dable's another option too, because I think he's a better offense coordinator than head coach. We saw how it went for both of them, but I think you just let them focus on the offense. You'll get some good things out of them. Who's the guy on your staff y'all mentioned the other day that would be decent? That would be a consideration. Y'all mentioned one guy.
He's not a consideration. The process has been changed. When reaching out to candidates originally, they were told that the offense would be theirs.
Okay.
And Nick would not have much say so. Now he's helping pick, and they've kind of done a step back from the original process that was described. The only candidate that's interviewed so far is the Falcons ex-OC. I think the problem is going to be Nick probably has a bad rep with other possible OCs. And then they're not going to do anything about it. It's going to kind of let him be a major decision maker in the next OC.
That sounds like he need to go, honestly, as the head coach. I hate to say it, but
well, that's an organization thing. That's the organization allowing him to hold that role. The organization should have stayed with the original thing, and he's going to be your head coach, but you're going to run the offense same way Vic Fangio basically runs the defense. If they're going back on that and changing, that's not a Nick thing. That's not a Nick fault. That's an organization thing. Nobody wants to work under a bumbling, rumbling, stumbling, meddling Nick Sirianni. And if you knew that, but then you forgot it in less than a week, that's not going to be on Nick. That's on Howard Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie. I think organizationally, it may be time to mix things up. Maybe Howie's been in the role too long and he's just gotten very complacent. Can make good moves, but at the same time, only seems to be when we have a bad year with this really great lineup. As far as AJ, I think it's a 50-50. I think a change in coordinator and getting back to doing things the more traditional as far as when you throw the ball, how you throw the ball, run the ball, play action, motion, putting him in different places, using the middle of the field, all these things that we didn't do, I think he would be fine. I don't know if they're going to bring him back or not. As I said on Eagles Elite, I'm 50-50 on that. Definitely a wasted season. But again, that's the fault of Howard Roseman because he's the GM that let a lot of pieces walk away or trade away or cut. And you did not bring in enough replacements, enough caliber player for replacements to have the depth that you had last year and be that same really good team. Offensively, a lot of the same things, but our center, Cam Jurgens, back issue that kind of plagued him all year. He probably should not have played until he was ready to play. Lane Johnson's getting up there. He doesn't have many years left. Landon Dickerson, hurt a lot this year. Jordan Mailata, just not the same player this year. So a lot of things we're hearing about behind the scenes, and people don't want to play with this guy, and people think this guy is this and that and this. I'm gonna simply say this: if you're a professional athlete, your team is winning, you're coming off being Super Bowl champions. You're mad because you don't get the ball enough. You're mad because your quarterback doesn't do this. You're mad because the coordinator doesn't call enough plays for you, whatever. Then, probably should do a better job of being a professional, part of a professional athlete. Because there's a lot of guys in way worse situations than coming off being a Super Bowl champion that would have killed to be in your place. As far as the AJ thing, if we trade AJ, unless we're able to trade him for another top receiver, we're not going to get the return back for him. AJ's cap hit would be just debilitating. Unless he's going to sit down and redo the contract so that he keeps his money, but the cap hit becomes way more manageable, I don't think we're going to see a move because financially it doesn't make sense. So I think we're going to end up back with him again, unless, again, he sits down and redoes the contract. And I think that we are going to believe that implementing a better coordinator is going to change things and fix some of the issues. The issue is, if we get a good coordinator, we win the Super Bowl next year, they're probably going to go be a head coach somewhere. Then we're going to be back in the same boat again. And then at that point, they'll let Nick be part of the process. Nick is going to screw it up. So I think we're in a bad cycle, kind of. We have a coach that can't call plays. He's the one that's picking a coordinator, or at least being a major voice in that process. And there's really no reason for him to be. And things can go really well for Philadelphia in 2026, or things can go really bad. It's going to all depend on who is that coordinator, what players stay, what players go, who we bring in, and how guys that have been there for some time, that have kind of had some off years, how they bounce back and execute. It's really hard to judge now because there's so many unrestricted free agents that are a big part of the team, and depending on who they bring back, who they draft, things like that, it's going to make a big determination on how this team looks next year and if we're going to be able to try to compete for a championship again or not. When I look at the division as a whole, definitely a down year. A big part of that was the injury to Jaden Daniels that kind of pushed them away from any type of contention for the division championship. The Giants, you guys, I expected you to be a little bit better, but that's okay. There's room for improvement. You guys, I think will be better this coming year. And then Dallas, they probably were about where I expected them to be. They had a chance. Hard Knocks came, and I think that kind of affected how some different things were handled by the NFL in regards to teams. And definitely a wasted season for the Eagles, and a wasted season, I feel like, for the division as a whole. So it'll be a lot of bouncing back next year. Should be a lot of bouncing back next year. I won't say will because we'll have to see how those guys come out. But a lot of opportunity for growth and being better in 2026, 2027 season than 2025, 2026 season. Anything you want to add, Scrub, about the division as a whole?
There's not really much for me to add. The only thing I was going to ask, since we did it for, I did it for my team, and Couch Coach did it for his team. Who is your MVP, defensive player, offensive player, comeback player, rookie of the year?
Offensive player, I'm going to go Dallas Goedert. Stepped up when his number was called. Defensive player, I'm going to go Jordan Davis. Rookie of the year, I've got to go with Jahad Campbell just because the only other real candidate would be Andrew Makuba. Obviously, both on the defensive side of the ball. Most improved, I'm going to go with Jelix Hunt, who led the team in interceptions and fumbles recoveries. And then MVP is probably the hardest one, just because it's a tough season. But I'm going to go with Quinyon Mitchell being our number one. A lot of struggle on the other side. So, yeah, that would be, my guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I think all of them should really just go work on being better next year and win this playoff game.
I think everyone in the division will be saying the same thing.
First time since 2019 that the defending Super Bowl champions didn't even win one game in the playoffs. So,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So definitely a very disappointing year to be, Eagles fan. And if you really were watching, you kind of felt that this might be the outcome. That was a 50% chance that this would be, and make 50%, well, I guess, was good enough in this case. So for the last time this season, it's your boy Cool McCain, along with Scrub Zero, Couch Coach, our guy Sam, as well as our Big Flo, our Dallas Cowboys rep. We will be back next season. And guess what? No matter who wins the Super Bowl, we'll still be the best division because the division even has all the teams that have one Super Bowl. So, you get like us, then come talk to us. Enjoy your playoffs. Enjoy your summers. We'll be back. For Jesus. We out.